In the first 6 videos in this series, we talked about the basics of attachment theory, why dependency on others is healthy, how to identify your attachment style and the attachment style of the people you date, and we went into detail on the anxious, avoidant, and secure attachment styles. In this video, we'll talk about the anxious-avoidant trap, including what it is, how to know if you're caught in it, how to avoid getting trapped in it to begin with, and what you can do to make the best of the relationship if you decide you want to make it work. And if you've noticed that your partner seems to treat you worse than anyone else in their life and that the relationship just keeps on getting worse, keep watching because we'll talk about why that is and what you can do about it. Satisfaction in a relationship is greatly increased when both partners agree on the level of closeness and intimacy desired. A disagreement here can cause the issue to dominate the entire relationship. Anxious people are attracted to avoidance because of the highs and lows that avoidance cause, and avoidants are attracted to anxious people because anxious people get attached so easily that they're willing to put up with all the nonsense avoidance put them through. They end up trapped in a relationship where they exacerbate each other's insecurities. Anxious people deal with threats by trying to get close, which causes the avoidant person to pull away, which causes the anxious person to try and get even closer. This dance can go on for as long as the relationship continues. So what are the signs that you're trapped in a relationship where one person is anxious and the other is avoidant? Well, the first sign is the roller coaster effect of dramatic swings from high points to low points in the relationship. The anxious partner latches onto the avoidant partner when they're available, giving them a high, and then the avoidant partner pulls away, giving them a low. This happens repeatedly throughout the relationship. The next sign is that the relationship never feels stable. You may have been together for years, but you never settle into a safe, comfortable pattern the way secure people do. There's also a lack of balance in the confidence of the partners. The anxious person feels inadequate, while the avoidant person feels confident and independent. The problem is, this sense of independence is often stronger the less confident their partner feels. Avoidants will put down their partners and make them feel needy as a way to boost their own sense of independence. This is one of the reasons avoidants rarely date each other. It's hard to feel strong and independent compared to your partner when they act the same way you do. If you're the anxious partner, you'll notice a strange phenomenon where the closer you get to the avoidant partner, the worse they treat you. They're kind to everyone but you, and this behavior only gets worse over time. They're doing this because they're uncomfortable with intimacy and trying to push you away. You're also likely to notice that you keep having fights over things that don't really matter. All couples fight, but secure couples fight over everyday issues and things that have happened. Anxious-avoidant relationships have fights over intimacy. Because the anxious person wants to get closer and the avoidant person wants to pull away, they're constantly fighting over everything because the core issue of intimacy is never being addressed. It's difficult for either partner to relax and be comfortable when their intimacy needs are going unfulfilled. Finally, you're likely to get a sense that this relationship is not right for you, but you're too emotionally attached to leave. This is a big sign that you've gotten caught in the trap that this kind of relationship represents. So why is it so difficult to work things out when one partner is anxious and the other partner is avoidant? Surely over time they can come to a solution that works for both of them. Unfortunately, over time things tend to get worse rather than better. Typically, the anxious partner makes most of the concessions in these relationships and has to follow the rules of the avoidant partner. This is because the anxious partner is already so attached and so afraid of losing the avoidant partner that they'll make almost any sacrifice to keep them around. As the relationship continues, the intimacy differences spill over into more and more areas of life. As they continue to fight about more and more things, the gap between the two of them widens. Fixing problems creates intimacy, and eventually the conflict itself is so big that fixing it would create too much intimacy for the avoidant partner to tolerate. Avoidants get more distant and more hostile the longer an argument lasts because the intimacy that would be created by fixing it is too much for them to bear. This is one of the reasons why it's so important to solve problems quickly. Each time the couple fights, the anxious person gets a weaker and weaker position within the relationship. The anxious person gets overwhelmed with emotions and may say or do things that they regret later. Then, during their time apart, they think about all the positive aspects of the avoidant partner and reach out to reconcile. The avoidant partner often is spending the time doing the exact opposite and thinking about all the worst parts of the relationship, and so they respond with hostility. The result is that the original conflict was never resolved, and the anxious person is now in a worse position than when the argument started. The anxious person often has to make further concessions just to get back to the unsatisfactory way things were before. Since the issue that started it all was never resolved, the fight will likely happen again in the future. One of the best things you can do if you're anxious or avoidant is to learn the warning signs that you're dating someone of the opposite type and end things early. If you're anxious, start doing the things you've been told will scare people off, like sharing your feelings and showing you love them. This only scares off avoidant people, and you'll be much happier if you scare them off early. But if you find yourself in an anxious-avoidant relationship, all hope isn't lost. There are things you can do about it. The first thing you can do is to find yourself a secure role model to model your behavior after. I often tell people to treat their partners more like dogs. As you can imagine, a lot of people think this is horrible and insulting, but when you look at many relationships, the pets are treated way better than the partners. Think about it. When you get home, your dog is extremely excited to see you, and that adoration feels good. If your dog does something wrong, like pees on the carpet, you might be upset at first, but you don't hold a grudge that lasts for weeks. Your dog is always there for you whenever you want love and affection. The vast majority of people have secure relationships with our pets. We're always there for our pets when needed and greet them warmly whenever we get home. If you can't treat your partner with at least as much love and affection as you do your pet, there is something seriously wrong with your relationship. Whether the problem is how they treat you or how you treat them, something needs to change. And if you're finding this video interesting, give it a like and leave a comment about a rocky relationship you've been in. So now that you have a secure role model, whether it's another person or a pet, and you're seeking to perform the positive, secure behaviors mentioned in the secure video in this series, the next thing you need to do is to identify the anxious or avoidant behaviors you're regularly doing. Take note of what situations trigger you and how you react to them. Notice both your natural reactions and also consider what a secure reaction would be instead. For example, if you're anxious and your partner says something that can be taken in multiple ways, your anxious inclination might be to assume the worst. Rather than jumping to this conclusion, you can follow a secure behavior pattern and ask, "What do you mean by that?" in a non-accusatory tone. If you're avoidant and your natural inclination when your partner gets close is to pull away and leave the room, consider what a secure person might do instead and simply say what you're feeling. For example, you might say, "This conversation is making me uncomfortable, but I'm trying to stick with it. I want to resolve this problem, but I'm having some difficulty." You can review the anxious and avoidant videos if you need examples of the kind of behaviors they exhibit, and review the secure video if you need examples of how to behave instead. If you're interested in learning about this topic on a deeper level, I recommend a book with the title Attached, and I'll put an Amazon link in the description below, along with links to those 3 videos. If you think you're trapped in an anxious-avoidant relationship or have a tendency to get into these kinds of relationships, I cannot recommend this book strongly enough. Pick up a copy as soon as possible. If you're with an avoidant partner, it's important to remember that they'll push you away at times, but that isn't because you're doing something wrong. They will always find excuses to pull away because they're uncomfortable with intimacy. A problem, though, is that avoidants tend to feel less happy in relationships and blame their partners for this unhappiness, even though the cause is their attachment style and the need to push people away. Even secure partners can sometimes struggle in relationships with avoidant partners, but there are things you can do if you want to make it work. They all center around lowering your expectations about what you expect from a partner. There may be some activities that you always dreamed of doing with a partner that you're just going to have to learn to do by yourself or with other people instead. Having a strong network of friends will help fill the gaps in your relationship. You'll have to accept that there are certain things they're never going to do and to stop expecting them to change. Instead, be grateful for what they do provide and choose not to focus on what they don't provide. Understand they'll push you away at times, but don't take it too personally. This is just how they deal with being too close to people. People that choose to stay with avoidant partners, and I specifically mean avoidant partners that refuse to read the attached book and try to change, can expect to have chronic disagreements over intimacy. You can make it work with an avoidant partner by letting go of the idea of true closeness and settling for a reduced level of togetherness. In other words, the non-avoidant partner gives in and does an entirely one-sided compromise. They accept they can have less conflict if they just lower their expectations and settle for less. This strategy will make you happier than people who continue to fight with their avoidant partner, but less happy than people who don't have an avoidant partner. There's a big difference between normal fights in a relationship and fights that have intimacy issues at their core. Normal fights bring people closer together when they find common ground and come to a resolution. Fights over intimacy either go on forever or the non-avoidant partner gives in completely to the avoidant partner's demands. With that in mind, if it's early enough in the relationship that you can consider leaving, it's worth seriously thinking about whether this is a relationship you really want. This is why I keep recommending you be honest about your feelings early in the relationship and behave exactly as you wish to, even if it might scare people off. The kind of people that it will scare off are people you really don't want to be dating to begin with. If you do find yourself dating an avoidant person and have decided you can't or don't want to make it work, the next video will discuss strategies for how to break up and get out of a bad relationship. So keep watching.